everybody, this is part 2 of making an animal creature. We're going to be making the different parts. I'm making 3 forms that need to be hollow. The rest of mine will just be parts that I applique on. But for my main body of my form, I'm going to need to make a double pinch pot that's a little smaller, and that will act as the head, which will be a sphere. And then I'm going to make a cylinder neck to connect the two. So this is going to be fast forwarded just a little bit, but I'm making 2 very small pinch pots just to remind you of how to connect them as a double pinch pot. I'll show you in 1 second. So there's both of them. If one is larger, you can use that to overlap. If they're exactly the same size, just make sure you flare the edge of one and put the second pinch pot pretty much inside, and then you hide the edge and you blend it together like this. So overlap and then blend. It's pretty, my sphere that I'm going to use for the head of my creature is pretty small, so I don't really need any tools, but if you find it's easier for you to use an actual modeling tool, that's fine too. No matter the size, you probably want to add water to this as well and roll it in your hands so it becomes nice and round and also gets rid of the bumps, just like the first double pinch pot. So you can see I have space between the 2 of mine. I'm going to need to make a neck. To make a neck, all you need to do is roll out some clay. Keep it about the thickness of your pinky, maybe a little thinner. And then I'm going to cut it into a rectangle. Once it's a rectangle, I can just roll it like I'm rolling a piece of paper up. So it makes a tube. So here I am making my very own clay tube. That's it. Now you can see all the edges that aren't connected. There's a little work you have to do. So I have to blend the edge, I have to blend the inside. Sometimes it's hard if it's too small and you can't fit your finger in there, you could use a pen or a wooden modeling tool. I'm trying to use the end of my X-Acto knife to reach inside to blend whatever you have that's small enough that you can blend and connect and hide that seam together. So here I'm doing it on the outside. I'm using the tool on the inside just to hold it steady. And now I've made a cylinder that's hollow. Now when I connect my creature's head to the cylinder, I need to make sure there's an air hole. And now the air can flow between the head, the neck, and the body. So here I fast forward just a little bit, and I'm just going to connect these 3 things together. If your clay is really soft, you might need to wait a little bit. If something is too heavy, if the head of your creature is much heavier than the neck, it might squish the neck, so you need to make sure everything will fit together well. I have seen students have to remake the neck or legs because they're too thin and it just topples over. So one way you can connect a cylinder to a larger surface is by flaring out the bottom edge, setting it on top like a little hat, and then blending it together. Just want to make sure that all of the air holes are connected and they aren't hidden by any clay. You can always poke the hole through again if you're worried it didn't quite fit. And now I'm going to try my best to hold this and connect it together by blending the clay from the neck up. Now I noticed that my clay is really, really thin, so I'm going to take an extra piece of clay like a Band-Aid and roll it into a little coil. So I'll have some more clay to work with and wrap it around where I want to connect my 2 forms. You can do this anytime. If you just feel like you need a little more clay, maybe the way your forms are shaped, they don't connect very well, then here you go. I'm gonna blend this coil in, and you won't even be able to tell that I used a coil, but it will help connect the head to the neck. And then the rest of this is just me trying to work a little bit with making sure nothing's gonna fall off, making sure it's completely sealed. I put this back in the bag and I let it harden a little bit. Next class, I start to scrape away parts that I think are bumpy. Now remember, you can always use water and a sponge, but if you see any large chunks that you don't need, then you should scrape them off. So this is a great start. You just have to make sure you have an air hole between the neck on both the sphere and the body side. Okay, good luck.